everybody. How are you today? Welcome back. And this is session 3, so we're in the middle of our 5-day boot camp, the hump day or Wednesday. And today we have something special for you. Welcome back. Today we're going to get you unstuck and stop spinning your wheels. Now, I don't know where in the world you are. There's people from all over, and some people have warm, sunny, beautiful weather. But where I am, if you look out my window, this is exactly what you see: a huge amount of snow and cars stuck in the snow. So if you feel that way, even if you're not really in that situation, but you might feel that you are, we're going to help you get unstuck today and stop spinning your wheels. So again, just a quick mention to please turn off your devices and pay attention. As you know, I have some wonderful visuals for you. I worked hard to prepare them so that you can stay riveted and not be looking at your email and phone and everything else. I know it's tempting. And so let's spend a little fun time together. So every day this week.
Linda, sorry to jump in. Can you just adjust your microphone?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sorry. Let me just go back very, very quickly. I again didn't do my microphone right. So just wanted to mention that today we're here to get you unstuck and stop spinning your wheels. And as I said, if you live in a warm climate, you're lucky. This is what I see when I look outside my window. I see a lot of cars stuck in the snow. So whether you actually feel that way or you don't really feel that way, physically, you may feel that way emotionally when it comes to your book. So that's what we're here to do today, is get you unstuck and stop spinning your wheels. And as I mentioned before, give yourself the gift of attention and turn off other devices and stop, looking at cell phones, which I know I do and everybody does. But hopefully these visuals will keep you occupied and interested. So every day we're uncovering one more step of the process. Monday we talked about the focus of your book and how to narrow it down and talk about your audience. And I know this is a hard thing for a lot of people. People have been emailing me, and sometimes you really need to talk it out. I did talk it out with one person this morning and someone else on email, and I think it really helped to have some feedback on that, because I know that most of you think that your book is for everyone, and it well could be for everyone, but the point is that everyone is not your ideal reader, even though it could be for everyone. So it's really important to narrow that down. It's a process, and if you haven't done it yet, then whether you work with me or not, it's something you really need to do before you launch into your writing of your book on your own. The next thing, yesterday we talked about design, and we talked about your cover and your title and your subtitle, and very, very important for the design of your book. It all works together. So today we're going to talk about the structure of your book. I think you're going to find this really enlightening when you see what you can do with your book and how easy it's going to be after this. It's going to really unblock you or stop you from being stuck. But before I go there, I just want to take a moment and get some Q&A. And so let's find out what you most want to learn today. We've covered certain things. And Tracy, maybe you can just take a poll and see what do people want to most learn today. And in the meantime, I'm going to just stop the video so I can concentrate on giving you the best presentation I can and what the content is. So let's launch the poll, Tracy. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. So if you do have responses for Linda, please use the question box to let us know. Angie says, how to structure my book. Will is asking the short versus the long chapters.
Okay.
And let's just give anyone else a quick moment to use the question box to type in what they'll be looking for today.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have the table of contents. What's the first step in structuring my ideas? What is the most user-friendly style in terms of subtitles, organization, chapters, length of chapters, paragraphs, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How to maintain interest?
Mm-hmm.
Bibliography, perhaps?
Okay.
And how to create an outline and really get started when you have a lot of unorganized ideas.
Okay, we're going to be talking about most of that today. A bit of the writing part actually we'll cover tomorrow, how to write in a friendly style, etc. I just want to have a quick little funny story about somebody asked about the length of chapters. And we're going to come to that more in a minute. But I remember the first book I wrote with a publisher, and I sent in the first draft of the manuscript, and the editor came back to me and she said, well, you know, there's some good content here, but I was just wondering why one of your chapters was 43 pages and the other was only 3 pages. And I kind of had a duh moment. I hit my forehead and I said, oh, okay, I guess they should be somewhat equal. So yeah, I mean, having some consistency is really good. I don't think any chapter should be 43 pages long unless your book is huge. So, you know, you kind of want to divide up your content roughly equally. Doesn't mean they have to have the same page number. So we're going to come to all of this content in a minute. So let's just go over quickly. Yesterday we covered how to find the perfect subtitle and title and subtitle. We covered some common design myths and beginner's mistakes, and the 7 elements that every book cover needs to succeed. And you probably saw the slides again if you needed to review them. And we also talked about the Wellness Book Sprint starting March 1st. And so today we're going to talk about the structure of writing a wellness book. So we're actually speeding forward in our road to our book. And today we're going to talk about 3 easy ways to structure your book. And I can tell you that once you know this, it's going to make your writing as simple as filling in the blanks. So I'm sure you're waiting on tenterhooks just to hear this, which is coming up in a couple minutes. The importance of stories and case histories, which is really important in your book, and your hero story and why it matters. And I'm also going to talk about the biggest mistakes people make in writing a book when it comes to the structure. I have something really fun at the end, so stay tuned. You're going to enjoy this, and you're going to get a lot out of this, I promise you. So now I have an important question for you. How many of you feel like you're a long-suffering writer? So you sit down at the computer. Of course, this is from a long time ago, but it's kind of a classic picture of the writer. And you get stuck. You don't know what to write. You start rewriting things. You feel like you're not making progress, and then you're holding your head in your hands. So Tracy, let's launch this little poll. And so let's see. How often do you feel like you suffer from writer's block? So is it never? Is it sometimes? Or is it too often? Or if it's all the time, you can put in too often. Let's see what we get here.
Excellent, Linda. So we still have a couple of responses coming in. Never is at 9%. Sometimes is at 36%. And too often is at 52% right now.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, I kind of had that feeling from what people tell me. So the never, fantastic. The sometimes, we're going to solve that. And if you often feel it, then in the next minute, I'm going to show you why you will never feel it again. How does that sound? Does that sound exciting? So you're never going to feel this again when I show you the next slide. So there's really only 2 reasons for writer's block. The first one is you don't know your content well enough, or you don't have enough content. And if you're on this line and you're a practitioner, I doubt that you don't have enough content. I'm sure you have probably too much content, and I'm sure you know your content well enough. I'm sure that that's not the case. It's not number 1. And I'm going to prove it to you. So remember our slide from Monday when I showed you 2 people on an airplane. And so you strike up a conversation with somebody. Now we're not talking about your book. We're talking about your knowledge. And you ask each other, what do you do? And you tell your seatmate, the person next to you, that you're a health practitioner. Maybe you're a nutritionist or a chiropractor or an integrative practitioner or something like that. And you strike up an interesting conversation. The other person says, oh, I want to know more. I have this problem. I have back pain or digestive problem. Can you help me? Now, maybe you don't want to do this, but if you want to, if you're really keen to share your knowledge, could you talk for an hour from, let's say, New York to Chicago or whatever an hour trip would be about your specialty? I can guarantee you would be able to. Could you talk from New York to LA, which is maybe, 5 hours, something like that? Probably you could talk for 5 hours without stopping if it's your area of specialty. If it's not, if you're a new practitioner and you really can't talk that long, then maybe you really need to rethink about what book you're writing. But I'm guessing that everyone on this line could talk about something, if not a lot, in your area, and probably could talk someone's ear off for 5 hours. So if I'm wrong, let me know at the end. But I'm guessing that the answer is that you could talk. So that's not your problem. It's not that you don't know your content. It's really the second biggest mistake is really the structure. You don't know how to structure what you know into a way that works for a book. So yesterday we talked about, I've shown you this little chart a few times, and if you're missing the goal and the focus, then you're adrift, you don't have readers. But if you're missing the structure, you're going to create confusion, because you don't know how to order things, you don't know what needs to go in the book, what doesn't need to go in the book. You might include too much content or not enough content in other areas. So this is where the structure comes in. And in a moment, I'm going to show you some structures. So the first thing you need to know is that you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint. I mean, it doesn't happen that you go into the woods with a pile of lumber and a shovel and some nails and whatever and just start building a house, because you wouldn't get very far. You'd have a pile of lumber and something that doesn't hold together. And so with a book, you also need to know the structure. Now, a book has a basic structure. Every book has the same main structure. And so the main structure is it has a table of contents, it has an introduction, it has several parts or sections, and then it has chapters in each section. That's the framework or the building blocks of your book. Books also have front matter, which are, some of them are optional but important. So you could have a foreword by somebody influential, which is really good. If there's a big name in your field that people know about and you can get them to write the foreword or a blurb for your book, that's like amazing. It's not crucial, and you can have someone that's not a big name, but it's good to have that. Having testimonials from your clients or your patients or people that read the book, I mean, that's really good. You can have a dedication to someone, that's completely optional. And as well, books have back matter. So they have information at the back, which could be an afterword if you want to, as kind of a summary or something. You can have acknowledgments for people that helped you. You should have about the author. And most important, when you self-publish, and this is an important reason, because when you have a publisher, they don't let you do this. You can't have a contact page. In fact, if you read any published book by a major publisher, you'd be hard-pressed to find a way to contact the author. You might Google them, or you might find them on LinkedIn or something, but they're not giving away that contact information. The publisher doesn't really want you to have that. But in your own published book, you can put a whole page of contact information, your website, a blog that you write, other books that you write. I mean, that is one thing the publisher would do if it's the same publisher. But you want people to contact you because you're building your business, you're building your practice, maybe a speaking business, whatever. So the contact page is a key thing that basically you can only do in a self-published book. So I highly recommend that, and I coach my people in my course on how to do a really good contact page. So that's really it. I mean, those are the building blocks of the book. Now, what's really important is what's inside the book, the content, and it's kind of like a sandwich. I tried to find one that was completely plant-based and gluten-free, but I think there's some gluten here. So I do apologize for anyone that's gluten-free, but that's the best sandwich I could find. But the important thing is your content. It's the sections and chapters of your book. So if you remember, we talked about having a pain or a problem that your clients are suffering from. And, that's the reason that people seek any kind of health book. No one looks for a book on back pain or digestive problems if they don't have back pain or a digestive problem. They're just not reading that. It's much easier to sell something to someone who's in pain than to someone who's completely happy, because someone who's happy is not looking for a solution. They're just busy living their life. The people that are in pain of some kind, those are the ones looking for a solution. And so they are the ones that will turn to Dr. Google or a book or your services. So we talked about how the book has to solve a pain, and it has to be transformational. So it has to take your patient, your reader, your client from where they are now, which is some kind of suffering, through the steps and stages until they're in a sunny place. You know, the birds are flying and the sun is shining and they're feeling good and they're feeling happy. And if that's the case and you can do that, then you've been very successful with your book. You've written a book that's very valuable to people. So it doesn't really matter whether you're writing about back pain or pregnancy or children's health or hormonal problems or allergies or stress or heart health or whatever, anything that you're writing about, you can use these 3 simple structures that I'm about to reveal to you. So the first one, I'm going to go into each of these in more detail, but the first one is a steps in a process, a method, a system, or a timeline. The next one is tips or habits or something with a number in it. And the third one is a how-to. And all of these kind of layer on each other, so it's not like one, you use only one and you can't use another one. So we're going to look at each of these separately. So let's start with the first one, the power of numbers. Numbers are highly powerful in books and even in blog posts and everything else you do. The number 7 is probably the most powerful. You see this in a lot of books, and these 2 books are really well-known books, and you probably read them. The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. They're icons, iconoclastic books. But you can use any number. You can use 5, you can use 101, you can use 50. I wrote a book for a client on 365 ways to do training tips. So you can use an odd number. You know, any number that suits you, it's just fine. Numbers are great. Now, but as I said, the power of 7 is still very strong. 5 is also, I think 3, 5, and 7 are the most powerful numbers. Many books with 7, a lot of books with 5. The reason is that 5 or 7 is a good number of steps. Like, it takes you from where you are to where you want to be. And 10 is maybe a little bit high, you know, 10 steps, like that's kind of a lot to do. 3 maybe is short and sweet, but you may have to pack more into each chapter, because if it's only 3 steps, there's probably sub-steps. You don't go in just 3 simple steps. So that's why I personally think 5 and 7 are kind of ideal. But again, there's, you know, it depends what suits your book. So as I said, 3 is also good. A lot of things, you know, 3 steps to gluten-free living, 3 daily steps to create supreme health. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe it has to be pretty targeted if you're doing it with hypoglycemia. 3 incredible steps to health. I find that a little vague. I think this was one of his earlier books, and some of Dr. Furman's books are much more powerful now. But I mean, still, he's an icon also, and he's written a lot of books that sold really well. So, you know, he knows how to use his numbers as well. Now, as I said, other numbers work. You can use 10, you can use 8, you can use 2. You know, it really depends on what makes sense and how you can best divide it up into manageable chunks, so that each chapter is not overwhelming, and one chapter is not 45 pages, and then the next chapter is like, here's 1 step and it's only 2 pages, because that just doesn't serve your reader very well. Now, you can use numbers in timelines. So you can have an 8-week diet, or 8 weeks to vibrant health, or 9 months to something, or, you know, 3 days to potty training, whatever makes sense. It could be part of a timeline, a week, a day, a month, even a few hours to change something. And I just want to mention something quickly, because this is really important. If you have a website, you're not allowed to mention the word cure. You can never say that you cure cancer or you cure back pain. You can't cure anything, because only the pharmaceutical industry is allowed to cure anything. Natural health practitioners or other practitioners, you can't cure anything. All you could do is help. And I say this as a copywriter because I grapple with this all the time. If you have a supplement, you're not allowed to say you cure anything because you haven't gone through clinical trials and everything else, the gold-plated clinical trials. So, but the thing about a book is that you can. On a book, because it's purely information and you're not selling anything, you can say that you cure something. You can talk about cancer cures if you want, or heart disease cures, or anything you want. So that's a pretty awesome thing that you could do with your book, which you can't say on your website. So I just wanted to let you know, for anybody that that feels you can cure someone, and maybe you can, here's the place where you can talk about it. So now I have a secret tip about using numbers. You can use this as the framework and the structure of your book without actually using the number. Now, it is powerful to write the numbers, but you can also not write the numbers. So you can keep in your head that you're going to have 5 steps or 7 steps, and you can even put it inside the book, but there's no reason you have to put it on the cover or use it in the title if you don't want to. It's an option. It's a powerful option, but there's other options as well. So think about a system or steps that you can help your client go through. And if you think about writing each step separately, so step 1, I'll show you how to do this in a second. You write down 7 steps. So I want to go from here, I have back pain, and at the end of 7 steps, I don't have back pain. So what are the 7 steps I need? Maybe the first one is to change my diet. Maybe the second one is to exercise in a different way. Or maybe the third one is to stretch more. I don't know, like I'm not the expert in back pain, but anyone who is, I'm sure there's some chiropractors here, and you know what 5 or 7 steps you would help your client go through. So you would take those number of steps and you write a chapter heading for each step of the problem, and then the key points that will explain, that you're going to explain in that chapter. And that is pretty much the outline of your book. And it makes it so simple when you think about steps instead of any other way to organize it. I've seen other people who give courses and write books on how to organize, and most of them don't talk about this. And I think they give you a very much more confusing way to write your book. I've seen people that tell you to do a mind map. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing a mind map. A mind map is a good first step, but I find when I do a mind map, I just get kind of like lost. I just kind of go all over the place, and I never actually corral the steps back into something manageable. If a mind map works for you, then no reason not to use it, but I just find that this has simplified my life in writing books so much and helping my clients. Now, the next powerful thing is how to, and the reason I say how to is so powerful is one of the most searched terms on Google. Just Google it yourself after this, not right now. Go to a search bar and put in how to and type the letter A or B or C, and you'll get an inordinate number of things, how to do just about everything. Now, you could use this as the title of your book or not, and you can also use it in conjunction with numbers or steps. So you could say how to meditate in just 2 minutes a day, let's say, or how to meditate in 1 week, you know, one day at a time, learn how to meditate, or, you know, how to get well, 7 steps to healing your digestion. I mean, those are all possible titles. So you can think about how do you combine, you know, should it be a how-to, should it be a numbered step? Should the number steps be in the subtitle? All of these are just different options that you can play with. You can kind of plug and play and see what works best for your particular title. And then once you do that, I mean, it's really, your book is as simple as filling in the blank, because as I said, you know your content. If you can travel from, you know, New York to LA and explain your content, then you probably have enough content to have dictated your book by then. You just haven't organized it. So this is the way you organize it. You break it down into steps, manageable chunks, and you write the steps. And whether you want to call it how to, or you want to call it something else, or you want to talk about the steps or not talk about them, I mean, that's completely a discretionary point. So when you get to the steps, and if you're not sure, you know, well, what am I going to say in the chapter about nutrition? So you just start with the WH questions. You ask yourself, well, what exactly is the problem with back pain? Who has this problem with back pain? Why do people have this problem? So you might have a chapter on each of those. Where does this problem come from? How does it start? When do people have this problem? At what stage of life and what situations? How can people get rid of this problem? And what solutions do I offer? Now, this is a good brainstorming to start with. If you can just jot the answers down to each of those questions, I think it's going to really simplify it for you. And if you find that some of the earlier stages of this, like what is the problem, who has the problem, If that doesn't come into the solution side, then you just have a few chapters at the beginning about this. You know, what is the problem or where does it come from? And then the bulk of your book is the solution, or a good part of your book. And I think that's going to be very, very simplified for you. So I'm going to come back to ask you how you feel about this in a little while. But I want to go on to just another few points about your book before we come back to that. So the next important point is that we all have stories to tell. And I think that probably every one of you has a story. Otherwise, you wouldn't be thinking of writing a book. And so the stories might be your own, or they might be from patients or your family or whatever. I'm going to ask you more about this in a second. But the important thing is that you bring your book to life, and stories are what bring your book to life. If you can wrap your chapter around an anecdote, a story, it could be about yourself, it could be how you came to write this book, but it always has to be valuable to the reader. It's not just like, you know, glorifying yourself. It has to be important to the reader. If you can tell an anecdote about one of your patients, maybe you don't use their name, but you know, something that happened, some way that you helped them, some transformation that they went through. You know, if you read a book and there's no stories, it's just facts, it's just boring, and nobody wants to read it. It's the stories that people remember, it's the stories that people hang on to. And it's the heart of your book, really. I mean, then the facts support it and give value, but the stories are what people remember, and stories are what people share. I mean, people may or may not share, hey, I read this incredible statistic that 98% of all people have blah, blah, blah. That's not so likely that they're going to run and tell their friend or their spouse, but they might tell them a good story. When you hear a good story, that's really what you want to share. I mean, that's what the internet is all about. That's what YouTube is about, is sharing stories, right? And Facebook, the stories that happen to you, the stories that happen to people around you. So you have to sprinkle stories generously, like chocolate chips in a gluten-free cookie. You know, cacao is supposed to be good for you, whether you believe it or not. It sure tastes good. So just sprinkle those stories into your gluten-free cookies, and you're going to have a really powerful book. Now, another thing is case studies. And if you're a practitioner that has many case studies, which you probably have, telling the stories of your clients. They don't have to be your own stories. They can be clients that you helped and how you transformed them. Super powerful. Like, that's what people are looking for. They want the hope. They want to know that someone else is just like them, that had the same digestive problems or headaches or foot pain or whatever it is, and that you're able to help them. And the case studies are so, so powerful. So the next thing is the hero's journey. And this could be your own journey. It could be the journey of somebody that you know, a family member, or a patient. And it's often why you even went into your profession, or why you want to write this book. So many people I talk to as a copywriter that started some kind of supplement company or became a health practitioner. Some people became a health practitioner because you always wanted to when you were young. It was always what you wanted. But the majority of people didn't. And I find that people tell me this. The majority of people started because of some kind of life crisis, some kind of health crisis, either their own or somebody close to them. So, you know, if I ask you, why do you want to write this book, or why did you want to write this book? Often it starts with a personal or family illness. You or somebody close to you had some kind of illness, and you went the traditional route. It didn't work. You couldn't find help. You discovered something that no one else had found, a solution, a way to do something. Maybe now you're treating patients with the same problem, similar problems. Maybe you have a new method or treatment or diet, and maybe it's not completely new, but it's the way you apply it. All of those reasons are reasons why you might want to write this book, and all of those could pertain to your hero story. So let's do a poll, Tracy, and let's find out how many of you have some kind of hero story that led you to want to write your book. Is it your own hero story, or is it someone close to you, a family member, or possibly a patient? And if you don't have a hero story, then that's fine as well. So let's just see what your answers are.
Thanks, Linda. We've launched the poll now, and we'll just give everyone just a quick moment more to submit their response. And Linda, right now, we have 67% saying yes, my own. 36% says yes, someone close or a patient. And 21% saying no.
Well, that really tells me something. I mean, that is so powerful. If you have your own story or somebody very close to you, which is, you know, roughly, I don't know, close to 90% of the people on this line.
Sorry, I mean, that is so, so powerful. If you have, you know, roughly 80–90% of the people on this line have some kind of story of your own or somebody close to you, or a patient that maybe you worked with closely. I mean, how powerful is that? That is a story that needs to be told. And obviously, if you're ready to write this book, then you have found some solution. You found something that worked. So this is an important part of your story. And we're going to, you know, you can actually include this as the beginning, the introduction. Many people do that. It's the beginning of your book. And it could be the thread throughout your book. You might have different parts of that story in different chapters as anecdotes or as parts of each chapter. You know, when you're talking about nutrition, you might talk about your own change in nutrition and how that helped you heal. When you talk about, you know, headache pain, you might talk about, I don't know, some supplements or some treatments or acupuncture or whatever it is that worked for you. So very, very powerful. And when you're telling your story, it's important to use emotional language. This is not the place where you're going to be using statistics. There's plenty of places to use, you know, statistics and other kinds of informative language. But this is where you use emotional language, and you really want to connect with your reader. You want to actually paint a picture of your journey or your struggles. And I'm going to talk much more about that tomorrow when we talk about the actual writing. So now I want to give you a surprise tip on how you can actually get some really good ideas for structuring your book. Now, you probably have seen this, but maybe you didn't consider it as a way to figure out what to put in your book. If you go to Amazon, and especially in the Kindle section, there is automatically something called Look Inside. And so you just click that and you will see 10% of the book. I think Amazon puts on 10% of the book in the Look Inside section. The longer the book, the more pages you're going to see, the fewer pages. But what you almost always see is the table of contents. So when you look at the table of contents, so imagine that you want to write a book, 50 tips on, you know, how to live a stress-free life. Somebody already used that title. And I should mention to you actually that there is no copyright on a title. So I'm not telling you to steal someone else's title. I actually wouldn't do that, because that person probably already has people following them and people buying their book. But I mean, you could tweak the title, and I mean, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. Like legally, I'm just saying legally you can do it. I'm not advising it. But maybe you want to do 50 things to know to lead I don't know, a happier life, a spiritual life, a pain-free life, I don't know, whatever it is. You could play around with that. So here's the table of contents. So I'm not saying to steal this either, but it's a really good sneak peek into what someone else wrote. Now, of course, a good thing is I told you how to find the best-selling books in your category. So take the top 10 best-selling books in your category, whether it's, you know, nutrition or whatever, and look at the table of contents and see, well, okay, maybe I should talk about this because one of the top 10 books has a chapter on it and I didn't think about it. So this is kind of like a little cheater's way to do it. And I really say you should do your own stuff and not to swipe anything directly, but just be inspired by it. That's what I'm saying. Just be inspired by the ideas and spark your own ideas. Now, let's say you wanted to do a book on 50 tips. And so we had this table of contents, and here are 3 tips. Now, this woman actually wrote only 2 paragraphs for tip. So, or 1 paragraph actually, 2 small paragraphs or 1 paragraph. So either she has a very small book, or yeah, it's probably a small book because 3 pages, 3 tips on a page don't go very far. So you might want to write that small book. There's no reason not to write a small book. Or you can take each of these tips and make them longer. You can make them 1 page, you can make them 2 pages, you can make them 3 or 5 pages. So this is such a good framework. You can have 25 tips instead of 50 and have more per tip. You can have, 75 tips or 300 tips. My client, I think I did actually 419 tips, like we picked a number like that. Her book was about 250 pages, and each tip was maybe the length of this, 3-4 lines, but it was really good. Like the tips were really, really good, and they all held together, and that book sold pretty well. So now looking at another look inside. So let's say you wanted to do the 7 or 8 week or whatever, do something by the week or by the month. So here, Dr. Hyla Cass, she's pretty famous and her books are probably doing very well. I'm not saying to copy what she did, but it might be interesting just to see how she divided it up. And then, you might say, oh, I didn't think about doing a self-evaluation. That's a good idea. Well, I mean, anyone can do put in a self-evaluation into your book. Or maybe, you want the week 1 to be beginning your journey. You might have some different wording, but maybe week 1 is starting your journey. So this is just sparking your imagination. And I think once you do that, you're going to find you have like ideas just flooding into your head. Here's the one about potty training. And so this is 3 days, but it's a step-by-step plan. And, it's pretty valuable for any parent or grandparent or anyone taking care of children that you have to potty train. I know that young moms, my daughter is a young mom, and she buys books like this. So the first part is before the 3 days, everything you need, and it's divided up into 5 steps. And then the next step is during the 3 days, and it's step 1 to 5. So again, you can see this is just all logical, parceling it out into steps. It's just manageable steps. Like before, you may have to do 5 things, so each one is a step. During that 3 days, you have to do several things. So you just clarify it for your reader. Do step 1, do this first, do this next, do the next thing. And it makes it so easy, and it's so easy for you. It's so much easier than you ever thought possible. So I'm going to come back and get your thoughts and your questions on this. But I want to tie this together a little bit. So yesterday we talked about the art of the title and the subtitle, and this all ties together because once you decide, are you going to do steps? Are you going to do how to? Are you going to do, a weekly thing or a monthly thing? Then you can write your title quite easily, because the title could be the what, like potty training, and the subtitle could be 7 days to potty training, or 5 steps to potty training, or whatever it is. And now you could see how this all works together, right? So I'm going to go on to something that's really fun. I promised you something a lot of fun. And so this is called emotional marketing value of your title and subtitle. Not many people know about this. And I have to tell you that this site I'm going to show you is literally addictive, like as addictive as Netflix for me. So when you go onto this site, I'll give you I have a shorter URL. This one was too long, but I have a shorter one coming up in a minute. It's called the Advanced Marketing Institute, and I have to say the site itself looks kind of horrendous. It's quite old and too many garish colors, but that doesn't matter because it's so powerful. You're gonna love this. So when you go on to here, you plug in a title and a subtitle of a book, and it gives you the emotional score. And there's 3 categories. So as you could see, the book might score high on the intellectual side. It might be high on the empathetic side, so the words that resonate with your reader. It might be high on the spiritual side, or it might be high on all of them, or it might be low on all of them. Like there's no guarantee. It could be any number of any of those things. So this is a title that we talked about yesterday. It's called Gut Bliss, 10-Day Plan to Ban Bloat, Flush Toxins, and Dump Your Digestive Baggage. You can't put any titles in, commas in here, so it's all kind of one big title and subtitle. And surprisingly, it had a pretty low score. I thought it was a great title, but when I looked at it, it didn't score all that high. It's 13%, and so what they say is that a good emotional score should be 30 to 40%, and a really fantastic one should be 50 to 70%. It's very hard to get into the 50% to 70, but it is possible. You could play with one title after another till you get there. So as I said, it is addictive. So that's one title. Here's another title. Sorry, that's the same one. Here's another one. Eat Dirt, Why Leaky Gut May Be the Root of Your Health Problems and 5 Surprising Steps to Cure It. So again, there's the number 5 in there. And here we have an emotional score of 30%, which is good, which is very good, but it's mostly intellectual. So if you want to appeal to people's intellectual curiosity, people that are intellectual, this might be a very good title for them. If you want to hit people on the emotional side, maybe you could tweak a few words. And what you're going to find is that you start tweaking a few words. So you say, well, what if I take out surprising and I put in amazing? Or what if I take out cure and I put remedy, or whatever it is? And then each of those words will change your score. So again, you could start fooling around with this, and I become addicted at times, and I said, okay, I have to stop this. But just trying to find a good title. This is just one feedback, and I want to tell you, like one client who was writing the title of her book, she kept saying, oh no, my score is too low. This title's no good. That title's no good. And I said, look, calm down. This is only one score. It doesn't mean your book will not sell well. It doesn't mean that people won't respond to your title. It's just it's one way to evaluate it. So, I mean, it is somewhat scientific, but it's only one, measuring tool. So I think that's a little fun, and I'm going to actually give you some homework with this in a minute. So we're going to come to that soon. And I want to just go over what we covered today, and I hope you agree that I made your life much easier when it comes to structuring your book. So we talked about 3 easy ways to structure your book that will make it as easy as filling in the blanks. And those 3 ways are to have numbered steps, a system or a process, whether you use the numbers or not, or to do a how-to book. And again, you can use the numbered steps or not. The importance of stories and case histories, which is vitally important. You need to sprinkle stories in your book. Like, that's the most important thing you could do to keep people reading, because people just stop reading when there's no stories. You got to keep them interested. And the hero story, which may be your story, and why it matters so much. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking about writing, actually how to get the book written. So we've now talked about how to structure it, and you're almost going to be filling in the blanks once you've got your structure ready. And I'm going to talk about how to actually write or record your book. And I'm going to tell you that this is going to ease your mind so much for anybody that has trepidation about putting words on a page. If you feel like you're not a good writer, or if you just don't have time to write, even if you are a good writer, this is going to make a huge, huge difference. So I want to take a little pause and do some Q&A. I want to know, what is your aha moment for today? And particularly, if you feel like one of these structures, or maybe you're not sure which one, but if one of these could work for you, and if you feel like, that's lightened my load, I can use one of these structures and it's going to make my book so much easier to write. So Tracy, why don't we launch this poll and see what people's aha moments are?
Excellent. So for everyone, just use the question box and let us know, and then I can say them to Linda. Our first aha is the role of emotional language. The next is the powers of numbers 5 and 7. We also have the look inside the tip on Amazon, the marketing value, the knowledge of the EMV scoring, the freedom to use stories, the importance of storytelling, using numbers in the title combined with emotional wording, using steps as a way to structure the book, And you have one comment, Linda, that David thinks this is great. I can already believing I can actually write a book and it's going to be fun.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. That's fantastic. You know, actually writing a book is fun. I know that most people probably haven't believed that up to this moment, and maybe you've transformed to believe it. But for me, writing a book is fun because it's really communicating with your reader, communicating things that you feel are valuable, that you've learned, that you want to share. And the scary stuff, once it's taken away, I mean, it really can be fun. So I'm going to give you a little homework again for anybody who's a serious forthcoming author in this group, and I know now that many of you are. And so that is to go to Amazon and look in your category, whether it's you know, nutrition or alternative health or whatever it is. Drill down to the category that's closest to you. So go to the Kindle books, the Kindle book section. Look for the category that's closest to the kind of book you would be writing, and look at the top 10. Usually, I think on the first page they have the top best-selling books. Go choose the title. You'll have to, you know, kind of write it down or type it into your browser. Well, actually, go to the AM Institute. So here's a simpler URL. If you just type in aminstitute.com/headline, go there and type in the title of some of those books and see what comes up. You also have to select the right category. So health and medicine is the closest one. And very curious to see, like, are these top sellers, how high are they on the emotional level? And I'll bet you that some of them are not. Some of them might be surprisingly high and some of them may not be. But this will give you some really good feedback, and you know, swipe the inspiration from the title. Don't copy it exactly, but be inspired by the title. Fool around a little bit. You know, if they have 7 steps, you might have 5 methods, or, you know, whatever it is. Like, you know, see what the best-selling titles are, and just, you know, and then if you have your own title, if you have even an idea for your title, put in your own title and see where it comes out on the emotional scale. And if you're hitting something hot, you know, keep it. I mean, it could be a working title. You may still change it, but put it aside and say, hey, I have a good working title, and just go from there. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'll put the slide back again in case you need it. But again, if you email me with 1 or 2 of your finds, either good or bad, you found something that works really well or something that you thought would work well and doesn't work well, you can put in the subject line book titles, EMV, or just book titles, whatever, and email me before 6 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow I actually will showcase some of these if I get some good ones from you. I know I haven't showcased your homework because it's been very personal, so I didn't want to tell everybody about it, but I did, I think, answer everybody, or I tried to. But this I will showcase, so I'm very curious as to see what you find, so that I don't get addicted and spend the whole evening there instead of preparing tomorrow's webinar. And so I'll give you this link again, but in case you forget, it's just aminstitute.com. And then it actually comes up headline if you Google aminstitute.com. So I just want to draw this to the closing point again. I hope you've enjoyed today's session, and there's only so much we can do in 5 days. I hope you don't have information overload now. I hope that it's actually clarified things, but you did have probably some information overload up to now. And I really hope that you no longer feel like this, like you're trapped inside your head, inside something where you can't get your words out because you don't know where to go. I feel like, I hope that I helped you break out of this today. And I hope you feel a little more powerful, you know, that you can do what you want to do and that you're not stuck anymore. I hope that this is more the feeling that you have right now. So for those of you interested, as I mentioned, starting on Wednesday, March 1st, we're going to be doing our sprint to write a wellness book. And I'm going to be working closely with a small group of wellness professionals just like you. And several people have already joined, and I've already had a conversation with one this morning, and a few more conversations scheduled. And I think that I don't want to mention her name, but I'm sure she's on. And I think she wrote me an email saying that our conversation today was so helpful, because she was somebody that said that her book was for everyone. And I said, well, yes, everyone could write your book, but it's not really, it could read your book, but it's not really for everyone, because that's not your target audience. And I think after our, maybe half-hour conversation, she came away with a new idea and felt very good about it. So if she wants to speak out later, she can, but I think that one-on-one, the guidance that I can give you is quite valuable. We talked about this, and I'll just take about a minute to talk about what we'll cover, which is defining your goals and your message and your audience, the structuring, the writing, the editing, the polishing, the designing, the formatting, and the publishing. That's all of what we do together. In March, basically, we're discussing the message, the foundation, the title, the cover, the back copy, the basics for your book to get it ready to go. In the end of March and most of April, we're structuring, we're writing, we're editing, and you can look back at this after. In May, we're doing copy editing, so we're doing things like grammar and punctuation and language. We're doing the front and back matter. We're having the book formatted. The cover is being done. We're doing final formatting and proofreading, and then we're getting ready to publish. And hopefully in June, some of us will be publishing together. But if it takes longer, then there's no worry about that. You can take the time you need. It doesn't have to be so fast. You'll have the framework, and you do it at the pace that works best for you. However, if anyone has some big speaking event in the summer, and or some reason you want your book ready, then you can absolutely do that. So I won't go over this too long. Just for anyone that's new and hasn't been here before, it will be multi-format. We'll be meeting on Zoom, where we are now, but it'll be in a room, so it's not a webinar. So you'll all be on the call, and we'll be talking together, and I'll see your faces, and you'll see mine. You can join by phone if you like. You'll also, as I mentioned before, have the audio, and you'll have the script, so you can work at your own pace. If you're away, if you're traveling, or you can't make the calls, you'll have everything afterwards, and you can go back and listen and watch as much as you want. You'll also have the checklist, the templates, all the resources that I give you, which is really saving you a lot of time, because if you have to look for cover designers and interview them and look for editors, I mean, this really takes time, and you could make mistakes and get the wrong cover and have to redo it. So I only give you proven resources. The accountability is so powerful, because we'll have a private group, you'll have a buddy, you'll have someone to bounce ideas off, and you'll have me to bounce ideas off. So you won't be alone. I'll be there every day. And if you have a question, it's not the blind leading the blind, which is the case in many programs where you have a Facebook page and the person who created the course never actually appears. They're often, sunny Florida or the Caribbean or something, drinking Mai Tais while you're struggling to figure out something in that course, because the only other people on the Facebook page are people at the same level as you who've never written a book. And I've seen this in other courses I've taken, and I've spent a lot of money on courses that I couldn't use because of that reason. So the other thing, of course, the proof that you can do this, because I can do this, is I'll be writing my own book along with you, and we'll finish and publish together in June if you want, but I'll be showing you every step of the way. Whatever I tell you to do this week, I'm going to be doing it too. And believe me, I don't have all day to sit and write my book. I'm writing for clients, I'm writing for the people in my course, and this is also my spare time to do my book. I've never actually got to the point in my life where I only write books. I probably could have at some point, but I do other things with writing, and so writing books is part of what I do, and I love all the other things I'm doing too, which is probably why it's not the only thing. So I'm just saying that I'm not sitting all day to write my book. I have the same amount of time probably as you have. So what is the investment? We talked about this before, for payments of $497, or you can pay in one payment if you like. And this won't actually be solidified until we've had a conversation and we make sure that you and I are right to work together, that this is the right program for you, because I don't want you to be on it if it's not, if you feel you can't do it or it's not right or it's not the right time and you really feel like you can't commit the time, then that's all cool. You know, there'll be another time. And I don't want you to launch into something unless you feel like, yes, I'm really ready to do this. I really want to do this, and I'm going to have a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to do this together. I talked yesterday about how this can save you money. If you don't know what you're doing and you need a lot of editing, I can save you so many steps in the editing that it can reduce from, you know, $3,000 down to a few hundred, or, you know, more or less, whatever. It depends on what you need. So taking a course, I have always found actually having guidance has been the best thing I've ever done. I should reveal that I have taken a course on how to give a course, and it's actually a lot more money than I'm even asking you for. And it's made the difference in my life because I had that coaching and mentoring. Now, I have a background in teaching. I taught for 15 years at the college level, and I wrote 27 textbooks. So it's not like I don't know how to put content together, and it's not like I don't know how to write a book, but I've never given a course online. And giving a course online is not the same as standing in front of a group of students in a classroom. So I needed that guidance. There's a whole other level of all this internet stuff that I didn't know how to do, and how to put together a launch, and how to do many of the things in the background. And if you saw my little goof, I'm going to tell you at the end more about that little goof, which I mentioned in my email today. All of that I had coaching and mentoring for, and even so, you still make some goofs anyway, but you know, it's all part of the learning process. But having a coach or a mentor is just going to cut your learning curve down drastically. So you make very few mistakes, if any. You make fewer mistakes, and it saves you time. And that time is what you can put into your patients or your clients, so you're not, you know, struggling with finding an editor and finding an editor that didn't do a good job for you. So again, if you want to apply, apply now to hold your place. And again, nothing is solidified till we have our conversation. The next thing that will happen is that you will have a link to book your call with me, and then we'll see if it's right to work together. Yesterday you heard from my client, Dr. Michael, and it was such a heartwarming experience for me that he called from Japan at 5 o'clock in the morning, not having slept all night, just to be on the call with me. If that doesn't show you that somebody in the world trusts me with their book, and he's a real person, you can look him up, you know, that I think, you know, by now, hopefully I've built some trust with you just from that alone. You could check out the other people on this page as well, and I'm sure they will all give you a wonderful testimonial as well. Most of them are on my LinkedIn site, and they've written me testimonials right there. So, and they're all on LinkedIn. By the way, if anyone here is on LinkedIn that I haven't connected with, please connect with me. I love to connect with people on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to connect with you. So what I want to tell you back to Michael is that this is what he said. You helped me get, an extra G, but here, you helped me get unstuck. And it's true. That's what the most important thing I do for all the people in my course is that I help them get unstuck. And I think that everybody here has probably tried, at least to some extent, to write a book. Maybe you got a little way going, or maybe you got a good part of your book going, or you got stuck, or maybe you just have an idea or a title. And if you haven't done it yet, somewhere you're stuck. You don't know how to get going. And so if you don't have anyone to help you, even with all this knowledge, it's still going to be overwhelming, and you're still going to be stuck. So that's the value that I bring, is that when you say, well, I'm not sure how to do this, do I do A or B? I say, well, in my experience, A is better, don't do B. Well, that's what I do with my mentor. I speak to him and I ask him, you know, when it's coming to launching a course or whatever, you know, is it better to do A or B? And he says, do A. And I say, thank you so much. I don't have to do B, because B is not going to work, and I don't want to do B. So I just do A, and wow, that saves me so much time. So again, a few people signed up yesterday and the day before. I have a few places left in the 10 people special. And the person I spoke to this morning, she said, do I still get to have you write the back of my book? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, thank you. I'm so happy. And so did someone else that signed up yesterday, said, I hope I'm in the 10. And I said, yes, you are. So I still have a few places left. When the 10 places are up, they're up. Of course, you could still be in the course, and I will teach you how to write your back cover copy. But this is a chance to have some really expert level copywriting that I do charge quite a lot to my clients to do their copywriting. So let's pause for some Q&A. And now I really want to know your questions. Any questions you have about creating the content, not the writing itself, but that we'll cover tomorrow, but the structuring, how to structure your book, if you like the ideas, if they're still puzzling to you, or anything else to do with how to structure your book or the emotional content of your title. So Tracy, let's take it away with a Q&A.
Thanks, Linda. I have the Q&A open, and we'll just give everyone a moment. If you have any questions too, Linda, please just type them into this question box, and I'll ask her on your behalf. And just, oh, here we go. We have some questions coming in. We have one comment about using the swipe copy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that as long as we change it, there are not any copyright issues.
So yeah, let me explain that. Swipe copy is actually a copywriting term where you look at other people's copy and you kind of model after it. Now, copywriting, well, there's actually two copywritings. There's copywriting with a W and copywriting with an R. So the copywriting with a W is actually writing stuff. Copywriting with an R is where you copyright your content with that little C symbol. And so you can't copyright an idea. You can copyright the exact words that you use. So if you go to someone's book and you steal their exact wording, that's stealing. That's not legal, and you're not allowed to do that. But if you kind of use their idea, but you put it in your own words, that's legal. That's legit. Now, really, honestly, I think you do have your own ideas. You should have your own ideas. So I think you should really just get inspiration from these other ideas. I don't think you should take someone else's book and rewrite it. You could, but I don't advise it. I think that's not right. But somebody could do that. So I hope that explains. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but what I'm saying is you can't copyright a title. That's one thing. So you could use a title that's been used before. There are actually more than one book with the same title, but I don't advise it, because if the book is out and people know that book already has the corner on that title. So why do that? I mean, it's easy enough to find another title. It's not that hard.
Thanks, Linda. And can you push it back to the homework slide right now?
Yeah.
And then I'll ask you your next question.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you're looking for the aminstitute.com, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. The next is the comment isn't about the structure, but the person is wondering if you offer the ability to be our book's editor or publisher later on, if we choose not to go through the sprint.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And if anybody wants to speak to me about that, just email me, and I do that with clients. So if you feel like, yeah, this is awesome, and I want to have my book, but I'm just too busy, I just can't do it, please contact me, and we will have a private conversation. And yes, I have done that with many clients, actually.
Thanks, Linda. Our next question is, what if someone's already missed the first talks? Is there an opportunity to see them, or is it still okay to join the sprint?
You don't need to have seen the first talk. Yes, I really said each one was only 24 hours. And so the second one is going to be finished at the end of this, in an hour and a half, and it'll be up. So I can't really honestly give it to one person and not another. However, to join the sprint, you don't need that, because once we launch the program, I'm going to be going over all of that in great detail. So as long as you've heard it and you have a general idea of what was in it, if you attended, and even if you didn't, it was quite basic. And if you feel like from this talk or yesterday's or both of them together that you trust enough that I can help you and I have the knowledge to guide you, yes, absolutely join the sprint, and I will fill you in and give you everything you need to catch up.
Thanks, Linda. Our next question. Many of us has done courses and read many books and seen other examples of patients. Are we able to modify their stories with our own ideas and take on it?
Yes. As long as you're not using someone's name and it's not so obvious that maybe something very unique happened that somebody would recognize it, you can create a story out of something that happened with a patient and make it a little bit more generic and make it come to life by not including all the details. I mean, I would have to, maybe guide you a little bit on that, but in general, yes, you can. Now, if you actually want to use someone's real story, you would have to get their permission to include it in a book, or else they possibly could sue you, so don't do that. But you can actually create a story. Many stories are kind of an amalgamation of a few people, so you might kind of create a story out of several people's case histories and put them together, so it's not any one person, and you change the details about their age and gender and whatever. You don't give their name. And so yes, you can create stories that come from your own experience without actually having to hopefully not ask the permission or embarrass anybody.
Thanks, Linda. And for those of you that still have questions, please take this time to ask them. Our next question is from John. Are you going to talk about using references?
Yes, I'm not sure if you mean referencing studies or other books or scientific studies. Is that what you mean? I'll talk to that, and if it's not, then please let me know. So, I mean, yes, absolutely. If you're writing anything scientific and you want to quote studies or scientific papers or anything else, you should do that. You can have them all at the back of the chapter, like at the end of each chapter, so the references you used, that's a common way to do it. You can have them all at the end of the book. It all depends on how many. Some people have pages and pages of references. Some people just have a few. So that's just a discretionary idea of where you put them. But absolutely, it's very easy to do a reference. I mean, you just put the reference number, you cite the study, whether it's Google Scholar or whatever it is, PubMed. And yes, I mean, if you're quoting a study, yes, you need to put the reference for sure.
Thank you, Linda. We also have one eager guest who would love to hear what you will be learning tomorrow on the webinar.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about actually writing your book. And I'm going to show you some methods for writing the content and also editing. I'm not going to go deeply into each kind of editing, but I'm going to give you an overview of the kind of editing you need to do, whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to get an editor to do it. And I'm going to show you how to record your book, so that if you don't want to write it, I'm going to show you some steps to recording your book. So it's all about writing, recording, and editing your book. That's the focus of tomorrow.
Thank you, Linda. I can't wait to hear about the recording option as well. We'll just give everyone just another moment to post their questions. We also have One of the comments is sometimes not doing the hardcore specific framework can work or captures attention.
I'm not sure what that refers to. Are you referring to the structure, or can you clarify?
Let me try repeating.
Yeah.
I know the question is really about the structure. Is there really, in one sense, more than one way to have the structure or to alter it?
And there's many ways, and you can alter it for sure. I mean, these are just 3 suggestions that I have found work very well, but you're not obligated to use this structure at all. Basically, you can use any structure that makes sense to you and to your content. All I'm saying is, though, that you do need a structure. You need some kind of structure. You can structure it the way you like, but you know, the mistake that people make is that you have an idea if you're in your head, you want to write about something, you sit down, you start writing, and then you kind of find like you kind of got lost, like, okay, what was the next thing you're going to write about? And then that's when you kind of abandon your book, because if you don't have a structure and you don't say, okay, today I'm writing about you know, the nutrition aspects of bone health, and tomorrow I'm writing about the exercise aspects of bone health, and Wednesday I'm writing about the emotional aspects or whatever. If you don't have that structure, you may forget what you were going to do, and then the next day when you sit down, you're not ready to write or record. So the structure is really important, but it doesn't have to be the ones I suggested. Those are just suggestions for you.
Thank you, Linda. This is all the questions we have, but I thought I would give you a couple of our comments here. One of our guests is saying they appreciate your experience. Another one is saying you did a great job today and can't wait to hear it tomorrow. So thank you, Linda, very much for all your expertise here.
You're more than welcome. And I just want to finish that little story for anyone who's still on the line after all this. I hope, Tracy, that you didn't see a lot of this stuff come from Rocho Gumbum. Is that possible?
Well, everyone has real names today.
Oh, so wonderful. Okay. So, yeah, just because we finished a tiny bit early, the story is, yes, it's my brother's name, but my brother is much younger than me, 7 years younger. He was kind of my baby when I was 7 years old and he was born. And his name is Richard Goldman. He's now actually an immigration lawyer, so he'd be appalled if he heard me talking about this online to everybody. But he does have a good sense of humor. And so when he was a little guy, he couldn't pronounce his name, Richard Goldman. It was kind of a big name for a little kid, so he called himself Rocho Gumbum. And so we used to tease him about that. That was a family joke. And so when I was preparing this 5-day boot camp, one of the things I was most nervous about was the links. Like, do you need the same link every day? Do you get a new link every day? So I was on the phone with, I got on the phone with Zoom that puts on the webinars. And I asked this woman, well, what happens if people don't have a link? You know, if they can't find their link at the last minute? Because I know it's happened to me when I've been on webinars. And I said, oh, where's that link? Where's that link? So I said, well, you know, I think I'll send them like an extra, is there an extra link I can use that if they can't locate their link from Zoom, it'll be handy and they can click on that. So she said, oh yeah, just use that link that you used as a test link. So I said, okay. So that's what I sent you. And then, you know, the first day when we looked at the, Tracy and I at the end of the webinar, we looked at the Q&A, and I said, holy smokes, like, how did my brother Richard answer all these questions? He wasn't even on the line. So it was just kind of funny. And then we kind of put our heads together and said, so that's what happened. So anyway, we discovered that yesterday. So I'm so glad that we actually now have some names, because I don't really know who asked most of the questions. A few people I know because they use their actual link, but like 75% of you were my brother yesterday. So as I said, I love you all, but you're not my brother. So anyway, I'll conclude with that and say have a good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. And you'll get the recording pretty soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.